All right. I think we're live. I hope we're live. And you are listening and watching an episode of Transparency and Merit with Brian and JP.
Yes.
Stoic calm and self-defense.
And Joey, sometimes the best self-defense is actually taking evasive action and avoiding trouble. And we have Political Woodstock, and I'm going to invite her into our chat board.
Yes. Welcome aboard, everybody. A fantastic episode where we discuss self-defense. So you're talking about preemptive.
Well, sometimes it's best to say preemptive strike, but also evasive action, knowing when.
But avoiding a situation is a preventative measure.
It's a form of defense.
Yes. I think avoiding the troubles to begin is probably the most vital way to navigate conflicts, and maybe even trespasses and whatnot. I'm all for securing your lines, so making sure that you're secure in your online adventures, for example, or defending your home by doing what you can to avoid a situation before it happens.
Yes.
Just like when I'm working, and also if I'm working with people, not necessarily working, but if somebody's continually facing issues, maybe at home or in their workplace, one thing I always ask about is their environment. Are there things that are, is there maybe a mess that needs to be cleaned up, or is it is there a are there too many distractions? Are there things that maybe just clear your space and make sure that your focus is in one place, and that way you can kind of address problems without your why do you want me to show my face, Mr. White? Why? I have no problem showing my face. The crowd wants to see my face. I'm still here. But yeah, so environmental and preventative measures, and then I think you could enter a conflict a little more prepared if you need to. Always, obviously, a measure of last resort. There you go, Mr. White. Live and kicking. So go ahead there, Mr. Brian. You had something to say.
The StreamYard in my minds, and I don't want to do that, so I want to delete that. I don't want that on there. Okay. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just... I had put this... Sorry, folks. I'm just... I'm fooling around here. I'm putting my show... Look how much they do to me here. It's awful. I'm fooling around... Sorry. I was just bear with me. I'm posting this on my. I'm posting this right now on Minds, and hopefully. But I wanted to say that if you are a free-thinking person right now, you are, and you like to talk and discuss things with people with different ideas and stuff, I don't think you're really in a good place right now. At least I'm not. And it does make me angry. By the way, we have Political Woodstock. I have invited you into our Discord if you wanted to speak up and say something, but I've been really angry about the things that are going on and the kinds of deceptions that are being placed forward right now, and it's angered me really to no end.
No doubt. I've run into the same problems, man. Just build up, build up, build up, and then a big boom of a letdown. And it's happened so many times in the last year that it's hard to keep my stoic calm. But it has happened many times. Specifically, it's in dealing with individuals, and I've just had such a difficult time breaking through to them on just trying to accomplish some business has been difficult. It's just amazing how much more difficult it's been to get things done.
Yes. Okay, we have Political Woodstock here as well. Now, again, I think that the left does, and the people will lie in order to gain advantage, and they will distort in order to gain advantage. And it's being when you censor one side, you're allowing one group to very much distort and gaslight. And people that there are people who believe the lie, and there are people who see through the lie. And those who see through it get very angry at those who believe it. And those that believe the lie get very angry and upset at those who see through it, and they actually try to stop them from presenting their evidence. And that's what makes me the most angriest. Political Woodstock, do you have anything to add to what we've been talking about?
Well, a number of scenarios are going through my mind. This is very similar to cancel culture, what you're talking about. A child reacts and an adult responds. And unfortunately, in our country, they're acting like children. They're reacting. If you look at the Sharon Osbourne and Pierce Morgan scenario, what do you guys think of that? Really?
I think, let me just, now, JP, Joey, I posted something on Twitter to you, and this woman really angered me. And, I think I'll just play it on the audio. I could show her, but I just want to.
I've got the link. I've got the link. Why don't we show it?
All right, show the link, and you could explain. I mean, like, this person is just vile, in my opinion.
All right, let me just share my screen.
Yeah, so share your screen, and you can see the vile, putrid human being that this person is, and she gets, just okay. If we want to play from the beginning of this person is a narcissist. Can we turn that off? Okay, sorry.
So it was just brought to my attention that Kevin Frazier interviewed this cretin, Sharon Osbourne, and gave her a softball interview, just not asking her any real hard questions about the allegations that are taking place, and decided in his caption when he posted on Instagram to tag myself, Holly Robinson Pete, and Cheryl Underwood in an effort to have a kumbaya teaching moment for this trash ass woman who doesn't even feel like she needs to abide by the basic laws of civility, let alone in a professional setting. And I'm wondering why Why do so many brothers, particularly in this entertainment business, feel the need to lay their coat down across troubled waters to help these white folks who don't give a fuck about us? First of all, it is not the responsibility of black folks to educate white folks on how they cannot be trash ass folks. Okay? They fucking made up.
Amen.
Why the fuck we got to teach you how to not be racist? To expect us to do that and to, as a black person, try and rally up folks into that space is one, just foolish and also not respectful of our time and of our energy. I don't got the time. I'm on my trampoline. And on another level, completely devoid of any consideration for the fact that Cheryl and Holly have been at the brunt of this woman's racist bullshit. Basically, you're asking victims to come and have a nice little sit down with their attacker so that this bitch can feel better. No, we are not on the rehabilitate white people train. That is not what our energy is for. There is no stimulus check for our time.
Time is slipping away from me. Yeah.
There are real issues going on out here. Okay. There is a whole political system and infrastructure based on racism, and y'all got us fucked up.
Amen.
Give me a break. Are you kidding me? This woman is the biggest fake around. Come on.
Fake? How can you call her fake? That was real. You finally
Real
played
fake.
some great audio on your show.
Real fake. She's a real fake is what she is. She's a fake. She's, we don't have time to, I find it very hard to believe that, again, this kind of selfish, narcissistic person is really just put on the forefront. And the thing of it is, if people began to talk back at this person, they could be the ones getting canceled. It's her narrative that gets the point of view. And the fact of the matter is, conservatives were calling a lot of this nonsense out, but now the left, who controls the internet.
Damn right.
Are you kidding me, Angela? You think they should? Well, I guess to you they should control it, but conservatives should stop spending their money on people who hate them. That's the best thing that you can do. That conservatives can do now is at every Republican meeting, they should be focusing on people like this woman and saying anything that endorses her or helps her, do not spend your money, and boycott that wherever you can. As an intelligent, thinking human being, boycott, don't spend your money on people like that. They have no empathy for you. They're myopic, and you shouldn't basically, like I said, and the thing is, you can't really confront them because they have the power of the establishment. But the one thing you can do is just say, you know what, this person is a narcissist or has very narcissistic tendencies, and I don't want to spend my money on a person like that. And I think that what people need to do is close their pocketbooks, and also, just people who move from like I'm thinking of moving to a red state and keeping people from blue states not having this kind of crap and calling it out hard where I can. I can't call it out in my blue state that hard, but I think if I went to Idaho or I went to the Carolinas, I can call this stuff out a lot harder and a lot harsher than I can now. And for me, this whole Meghan Merkel thing kind of disgusts me in a way that nobody ever, someone said, oh, my baby could be dark or this or that. How much time did these people even spend on the grooming gang cases in the UK by Muslim grooming gangs? You think Meghan Merkel will take on that issue?
This is a lot to unpack. Can we step back a moment or two?
Well, do you have a response to that?
Well, yeah, you mentioned so many different things. You mentioned canceling the people that you disagree with. I get that. I think there's one thing to disagree. There's a second thing to not purposely support their business. And third thing is out and out council culture just because you disagree with them.
Well,
Hold one moment.
Okay.
But I am a Democrat and I have left leaning principles. And it's not, as she said, Black people's position to tell us, if you're being racist or not. That time has passed. And I see this happening in Democratic offices and different places where Democrats gather, where they're expecting the minority to explain to them, the white people, what racism is. There's a time and place for that. There's educational places where you can learn about white fragility. By Robin, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her last name. I met her. She's amazing. And now go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of Americans do not agree with that, and they have a problem
with what specifically. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well,
a lot of Americans do not agree with what
that critical race theory stuff. A lot of Americans fundamentally disagree with that, and I would think the majority of Americans disagree with it. I think if most Americans read, at least most Americans of European descent, and not only Americans of European descent in America, but people of European descent across, across the European diaspora would disagree with this, would disagree with Robin DiAngelo, and they have, other countries have considered woke leftism to be a threat, and that it's
a threat.
An absolute threat. Oh, yes, it is an absolute and utter threat to the stability of our nation. And, some of these social media companies are getting pressure across the world. And I think conservatives need to do outreach to other nations and form perhaps even a NATO alliance against the woke left to really fight it. Right now, it's an economic cold war.
Point.
Go ahead.
I have a point. Oh gosh, it just escaped me. Go ahead. I'm so sorry for the interruption.
Well, right now it's an economic cold war, and I think conservatives, if they're smart, will align with other conservatives against the woke left, and will maybe. Because I think they're a threat. I think these social media companies have adopted woke leftism, and it is a threat to stability in civilized world. In any civilized world, it is a threat to stability. So I think that.
Well, I think it's more of a culture and moray war. It's a culture war. Our values, what we value, what we learn about in the public schools and private schools, it's all changing. It's a paradigm shift.
Well,
so maybe that's part of what you're discussing. It's not an economic war, except for certain people. Like Sharon Osbourne, her financials will never be the same. They'll never accept her back on the talk. She'll be asked to resign, and they're treating her with kid gloves, and it pisses me off that they're treating her with kid gloves.
What exactly? I mean, I don't even know exactly what she did. She defended Piers Morgan, what's the problem with that? It's an opinion.
Piers Morgan walked off the morning show in England he was trashing Meghan Markle. He used to date her, and when she left a date with him, she went to a party where she met Prince Harry, and the rest is history. And he's taken that personally. You can hear it when he talks about Meghan Markle.
Well,
it was over the interview. It was over the interview. Just give me a few more moments. Just give me a few more moments. So he gets really mad on the show that he's paid to be on there. He's paid for his opinions, but he's not paid for this bad behavior. He walked off the show, like threw his mic down, walked off. You know, you're too far gone. You know, that's basically what he was saying. And then Sharon Osbourne, his good friend, stuck up for him on the afternoon show called The Talk.
Well,
And people were a little bit upset about that, especially her co-host. Concluded.
if it would have been me, I would have leaned in on that guy hard about, oh, you know what I mean? Because he added personal attacks, and I would have gone, in my opinion, right back at him about and all with the left. I will all, and particularly in England, I will always add that leftist helped or exacerbated the grooming gang crisis. And I would have leaned in on that guy hard.
Good. Well,
your leftist philosophy is one of the reasons that British girls are raped.
My philosophy?
No, I would have said that to
Oh,
when he
right. But he was involved with her, and then he makes a lot of personal attacks. He talked about that experience of, you know, being on a date with her, and then she goes off to another party and meets Prince Harry. He obviously has a big chip on his shoulder, and he's never talked favorably about her. And he say that he didn't believe a single word that she said, and that part that doesn't bother me. It's the tone and what he said about her that was over the top, and then him walking off of the show really was like, "You're too far gone," you know, that type of mentality. And if he was like one of us, a podcaster that said that, no big deal, right? But he's getting paid for his opinion. He's getting paid to at least behave somewhat normal. And so Sharon is now in what I would call cancel culture. She had an opportunity to explain why she was supporting Pierce Morgan, a POS. And she took offense. She started saying, "You set me up," and da-da-da-da-da. And Sharon Osbourne does not have a polite mouth. She has a potty mouth. And I think a lot of people know that, but she obviously thinks she's better than other people. Time and time again, she's made statements, gestures that show that she is an elitist. She thinks she's better than people in certain areas. Concluded.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was going to almost cut you off. But leftists also come with the notion of moral superiority, that they're far better than everybody else. And they lack empathy. They lack empathy when things are done to people of European descent. I truly believe that, and
I agree with you.
Okay.
You know, the problem is they don't see the whole picture. They do not see the whole picture, and that's sad.
Why do I want, as a conservative? Why do I want that? Why do I want people who are so myopic they can't see beyond their own nose? Why do I want that? Why would any thinking human being want that?
Let's look at why that they're like that. It is our education in the United States that has made them see things from one side. You know, logic and reason are not taught in the public schools anymore. You know, rhetoric, you know, all that's gone. And so they just see what they appears to be on the internet, not the actual event. And I think it's not the older people that are acting this way. Majority is the young people. Gosh, it's a difficult situation.
Well, it's an emotional. Basically, it's an emotional response, and these people, they have to distort, they have to lie in order to, you know, they will lie in order to gain advantage. And they will distort in order to gain advantage. And
it's power. It's not just advantage. They are seeking power. And I've seen it happen with these young activists. You know, they start getting a name or recognition, and then they go full out, and it's just jaw dropping and destructive, violent, life ending at times. I could go on, and I can cite personal people, but I'm not going to put their names out there.
Yeah. Well, this Amanda Sales, father born in her father is African American. Her mother was a U.S. citizen of Grenada. You know, I just, man, some of these individuals, and they're allowed to say whatever they want. And again, if you talk back to them, they have the voice and ears of the establishment. And I guess the best part to be is not to really engage with them, but to engage with other conservatives. Say, hey, this person doesn't respect you. They don't have, and they hold you up to standards that they don't hold up for themselves. They're hypocrites. So the best thing you can do, whenever you can, don't spend your money on people who have no empathy for you and are so, such ego victims that they feel that your right to speak or talk is nothing, because they don't allow us to talk and they don't want to have a conversation. So here's what I do. Anything, if I were a conservative, anything that Amanda Seals does or says, hey, sponsors, whatever you're selling, I'll go to the other brand. I'll go to the other brand. And conservatives have to fight the economics this way. And again, it's going to be hard because the left has metastasized itself in every large economic institution. They've metastasized themselves in government and in
no, come on.
Oh, yes. Well, what do you mean, come on?
I mean that it's usually old white pasty guys in government. They have not masterized themselves in government. And you come from a point of the economy. It's more of a cultural war. And I like some of the things that Amanda had to say when she talked to quote, white people, that it's not the Black person's job to teach you about racism and this and that. She was speaking the truth. People need to be more independent and look up and learn about things on their own, whether you really shouldn't go to someone else to decide what you believe in. You should research principles and ideas to decide what you believe in. Define your boundaries for yourself. If you live within those boundaries, the possibilities are endless. You let someone else cite your boundaries, they become restrictions. And that's what's happened. We've become a country of restrictions. Now, I think I said something powerful. Concluded.
Well, we have become a country of restrictions. And, the fact of the matter is, there are certain people who are allowed to give their opinions, and there are certain people that aren't. And if it's on the right, particularly if it deals with race and culture, the left is allowed to give their opinion. The right is not. And the right, like the things that Google has done to change their algorithms and things like that, it's really kind of disgusting what they've done. And, I kind of don't know what to say, but they're kind of, kissing. And these people
are a private company, though. They're publicly held, but they're not a public utility. I think people forget that. Go to another platform, though, or get enough people to have a platform become more powerful, but the same thing's going to happen again.
Yeah, they are a private company, but even private companies cannot do whatever they want. And if they are causing dissension, and they are causing and they are facilitating terrorists, then and they are making the imbalance of unequal protection under the law, they need to be dealt with, and perhaps even need to be broken up, because they are. Google is more powerful than a lot of countries, and they are kind of an invading force. And
that's true. But I want to go back to something you just mentioned: equal justice. Our country was founded on equal justice under the law. But that's people are fallible. Humans are fallible. So that system doesn't really work. Neither does social justice, is what they have in South Africa. I think you're well aware how wonderful that's working. It's not. Maybe you should write a book. You seem well versed on these topics. What say you?
I say that leftism does not promote harmony but dissension, and it will lie and leftists will lie in order to gain advantage, and they will gaslight in order to gain advantage. They will try to, like I said, fool with perceptions, and that is kind of a dangerous thing. And there's not right now a lot that can be done with it. To a degree, it's kind of like having a narcissistic parent and being in their house, because they control so much of the economy that there's not a lot that you can necessarily do to fight back, because they can expel you from society. So what you have to do is just begin to boycott when and where you can, and pick your battles. I mean, there's a lot of times. Go ahead.
Maybe boycott is not the right word. Maybe supporting what your values are, those entities, those movies, books, maybe supporting them, at the maximum, and get other people to support them would be a more fruitful way to make some progress. What do you think?
You have to at times do to people what they do to you. They boycott. I mean, right now it's an economic civil war. In my opinion, I think we need to get farmers and truckers in on this and say some of these cities, I would go as far as like even, like making it harder for them to gain food and things like that. If they're not going to serve us and serve us for speaking, I almost think we could get farmers together and stop them from delivering to some of these cities where these big people live in, and see how you like it. You want to do to us, we'll do to you. I believe in a tit for tat kind of thing. If you're going to not value my freedom of speech, I'm going to make, and try to cancel me and hurt my food, put food on the table. Maybe the same be done. Hey, tit for tat.
I hate to say this, but it kind of sounds like the tenets of white supremacy, to bring a certain population under control. And this issue would be the leftists, make sure they feel our power. Now, I believe in conversation can change things. Hegel, maybe Jewish producer or Joe can talk about that idea.
Well, AKA Willie. Oh, Joe, do you have anything to add?
No, go ahead. What does Willie have to say?
No, talk about conversation. You would be good at this.
This is more my this is more
I hear you.
My thing. I mean, if Joe will chime in if he has something to add.
The title of Mr. Midnight Movie's book, Musings of a Lip Smacker.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. But I mean, it does. What you say, the tenets of white supremacy? No, I mean they are doing that. I mean, it's not the tenets of white supremacy. It's the tenets of tit for tat. You hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And if you hit me economically and try to hurt me economically, well, I'm going to do back to you what you do to me. And I think
I do value what you're saying. I want you to know that I value it. It just sounds very familiar to me.
Well,
concluded.
Yeah, these are leftists who believe what they believe, and I think we have to give to them what they, like I want to do. If you do something, and I think the problem with a lot of conservatives is they are Christian and they turn the other cheek, and that's not intelligent. And it's not intelligent to try to turn the other cheek and try to pray for those who persecute you and want to hurt you. That's not intelligent, and they don't want you. They certainly don't want you at their restaurants. They don't want you on their servers. They want to kick you off. So
what do you mean they don't want you at their restaurants? Are you talking about Huckabee? I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, but I'm not even talking about Huckabee. But I'm just saying that hey, you got to do to people what's wrong with doing to people what they do to you. And if someone supports that, what's wrong with giving a dose of their own medicine? You know?
Because that doesn't work. That doesn't always work. I will say Hegel has the right idea about conversation.
If they don't want to converse. They've made it very clear that they're not interested in conversation. So that, I mean, if
Then
they're
you pull back. You pull back, like if you have a business deal and they're really not wanting to make a deal, you pull back until they feel the need that they want this deal. And then you step back in when you can have more control.
well, what about pulling back as far as you can go? And, like I said, why should a truck driver or farmers give their food to people who despise and hate them?
I wonder what Willie would think. Can we bring Willie into this? Since he's all about, he understands the economy.
Well,
Maybe
no,
he might have a unique, but he'll probably be on your side though.
Willie-
Forget it.
Willie's totally mental.
Willie only wants to he only wants to talk about me getting laid and taking a trip to Alaska and living in the
No,
deep.
we don't need to talk about that. Fishing trips are good. Fishing trips are nice. But I'm just saying he does have a hold on the economy and he has some reason. That's all I was saying.
Well, I'm saying that like wherever can be possible, because these people started the cancel culture, and
No, the founders of America started the cancel culture when they put all that tea over the side of the ship. Am I right or wrong?
yeah, I don't know. Stefan Molyneux said that cancel culture is just a dress rehearsal for mass murder. And like I said, if you want, because if you can starve somebody out of the economy, get them fired, and get them deplatformed for whatever reason you see fit, well, again, why can't we? I think that conservatives should really start to blacklist Hollywood. I mean, like boycott Hollywood. We're already boycotting sports. And
Well, movies are dead anyway.
yeah, but I think again, some of these streaming services and other things, and boycott CNN and let me listen to what he says to me. Do I really sound like a dog licking my anus?
No, don't even read it. Don't read it out loud. But as far as the cancel culture goes, most revolutions begin in violence, and maybe this is a form of violence that will lead to a revolution. But what is this revolution about? That's the question we should be asking. What say you?
I think America is turning into a balkanized nation with many hostile factions. And the fact that I think one of the things that may happen is maybe a civil divorce between the left and the right, and maybe making America kind of like the European Union with different nation states may be the key, because this woke cancel culture, I want nothing to do with it. I find it despicable. I find these people to be disgusting. And every run-in I've had with them, they disgust me. And I think they are, and I try to do my stoic calm, but I think these are vile, nasty, self-centered, myopic human beings that I want nothing whatsoever to do with and to deal with. They're fake. They're liars. And they're overall, I consider them very bad people, very bad and dishonest actors.
But if you look at them, there's bad on both sides. There's people, being political just to get control. They think control is going to get them the things and the results that they want, and it never, ever does. Concluded.
And wait, let me Let Mr. Midnight Movie say his racist shit in public. Come on. Okay, give me a break.
Oh, you just cursed.
Yeah, I know I did. I'm sorry. Sorry I cursed, folks, but I just it does make me angry. I think I'm trying to work the best way to deal with it. I consider these people to be like they are like pod people, and they kind of are my enemy. And
Okay.
I
Why don't we name some? What are three political operatives that come from the left that you think is waging economic war on America? What are three and why? Or even two?
well, I'll give you two: the SPLC and the ADL. The ADL has been caught lying to Congress. They they will falsify information if it doesn't include white people. They will falsify information so their narrative can be put up. So they're a dishonorable and dishonest organization. And the same thing with the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Those two organizations should have should
Wait,
be.
well, why are you saying that about the Southern Poverty Law Center? They're good people.
They're a smear. They're a smear organization. They smear conservatives, and they smear white people, and they smear police officers.
How? How do they do that? Explain that to me.
They, you know what?
First of all, we've covered it on many shows.
I mean, with the ADL,
Okay.
with the ADL, okay, with the ADL, they have been. I mean, the ADL formed because a gentleman got lynched, a Jewish person. I forget his name, but he got lynched, and they were against mobocracy. Now they support mob. I mean, the ADL is in particular a hypocritical organization because they were at one time against fanaticism and mobocracy, and the SPLC also supports Black Lives Matter, which has come out as a Marxist organization with Marxist tenets to it.
Well, you do have a point.
And that is something that our country fought. You know, we had two hot wars, and we had nuclear missiles pointed at the Soviet Union and other countries that were Marxist. I think we may still have nukes pointed at these countries, and we have this philosophy in our nation and spreading, and it's a poison, and it's a poison that has been cultivated in the West and is now, from my understanding, making its way. It's made a stronghold, particularly within the Anglosphere, but seems to maybe even make a stronghold in other parts of the country. And wherever it's come across, wherever it's gotten a stronghold, it's been very divisive and very authoritarian. These are moral authoritarians, basically. And
This happened in like 1918, 1917. Maybe we should look at that, how they got political power back then and how our government fought back against it.
Well,
you raised some really good points.
You know, Angela, I think this started like the gain of power began in the late 60s, 70s, and then they really began a foothold because at first, the left believed in freedom of speech. And then in the 1980s, particularly in the late 1980s, they began on college campuses, they began a real start to moral authoritarianism. And these people who got these college degrees and all these woke studies basically went to businesses and have metastasized themselves in a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and certainly in our social media companies. Because when social media first came out, particularly YouTube, conservatives on the cultural end finally had a voice. and they started to speak effectively, and the powers that be didn't like what they were saying, and they couldn't defeat it intellectually, so they defeated it with power.
These are interesting ideas. Looks like Stabby is writing something.
Yes, he says he just wants to be able to wolf whistle at a hot broad or smack his waitress in the ass for good service, but that's these goddamn SJ. Okay, that's so silly. And
Well, thank you for being here, Stabby. We really appreciate you.
yes, and thank you as well, Willie. Even though you always want to get off topic and you want to talk about Willie always wants.
Jealous. He's just jealous of you. That's all this is.
No, Willie has a different. He has a different. Willie basically has a different agenda than me. He has a different mindset than me. I care about my country, and you know what? It could be over. I think that America's days could be completely over. That's a possibility, and I am fully willing to accept that America's days, particularly after this infection, this pandemic, are over. And it's not going to be pretty, and there's going to be a lot of suffering out there. And I mean,
Wow.
for the first time, the right to self-defense seemed to be under attack, and that really bothered me. And there were one instance was in Nebraska, and the other instance happened a while ago. Oh, actually, 3 instances. The biggest instance was in Nebraska. I did a show on it where they threatened a judge, and the guy who defended himself ended up committing suicide, and it just it really bothered.
Well, that is sad. That is really sad. But
It was-
if you were in Oklahoma, let's say there's a protest and they got on the highway and they're blocking you, you think they're coming at you. You now, just within the last week, have the right to run them over, even if you kill them, to get away from them. Kind of like the police used the defense that I was in fear of my life. You know, you can't even take a video of police on public grounds in Oklahoma anymore. So some states are fighting back the ideas that you are talking about. I just wanted to mention that.
So
Concluded.
yeah, well, that's not true. Stabby says none of this affects me personally at all, other than when he searches it out. No, it doesn't. I can get into some personal issues that have affected me and affected my right to speak. And that woman who spoke, there are plenty of women out there like that person. And again, I want the right to verbally retaliate and give that person the verbal what for.
Well, respond, but don't react. And by the way, Stabby and Willie, they're longtime fans of this show. Please consider liking the show and clicking on the notification bell so you won't miss the next show. What? I'm sorry, I read something.
Stabby said, "You are just as bad as they are." Of course, his spelling.
Yeah,
I need some work.
and I don't think I'm. Yeah, well, I get angry at them, and I certainly would. Like I said, to me, I would personally like to. Like I don't want to live next to them or near them. I would prefer to live in a more red state, and I think one of the things that we can do, perhaps, is have America become a United Nations, not a United Nations, but like the European Union with different nation states. And You know,
Um,
yeah.
there's already someone that thought of that, and his country that he would make is Ozarkia, and there's some people already thinking that, but I don't see how that could be implemented. You could look at the reservations, which are considered different countries because they have their own government, their own constitution. Uh, go live on the Navajo reservation. I think you have to ask for permission. It's the largest reservation. Or go to a state that suits your needs, whatever your needs may be. You want a conservative government, then go to a more conservative state. My understanding is that California is very liberal, but it seems like a lot of people are conservative in California.
Well, we do have a lot of conservatives in California. Just because there's a lot of conservatives. There's a lot of conservatives. I mean, like California is the most populated state in the union, and
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. I would never live there.
why not? Why do you choose to live in a red state?
Well, California is going bankrupt. Their taxes are so sky high. I don't see how anybody can be productive over there. The rents, how they devalue certain land. I don't see how they're even making it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm surprised how they're making it as well. I mean, there is a petition to recall Governor Gavin Newsom.
Do you think you'll make it? And also, a lot of businesses are leaving your state. Some of them are coming to Oklahoma and, of course, other states.
Yeah. But like I said, my thing is right now is to make, because I just think that we need a peaceful divorce, because I don't think we like each other culturally or anything else, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of conservatives, but they're not, to me, they're not as bad as the left. The left is awful, and I have preference to not be, like to live in a different state. And my preference would be to break up, kind of maybe even break up America, maybe make it into kind of like the European Union, where we have different nation states, but one state, but different nation states, where we, kind of cohabit.
Well, that's been tried before, though, the Civil War. That in of itself, they wanted to have their own place so they could have their own laws, live the way they wanted to. That didn't work out well.
Well, I'm not talking about, like that was actually enslaving people, but there's no slaves. The issue of slavery is not there. It's the issue of immigration, and it's an issue of just different values. And why live with people whom you disagree with, who don't hold your values? Why would I want that?
Diversity makes us stronger, in my opinion. Concluded.
I disagree. I think merit makes us stronger, and the Chinese believe in merit over diversity, and liberty over equality. And I think most conservatives, the biggest thing with conservatives is they value liberty before equality.
Well, I think liberty is innate. It's born within us. Freedom is something you have to achieve, or it's given to you, easily lost. But liberty, you really cannot lose liberty because it's innate. It was born within you. So,
Well,
but all of these are wonderful concepts to talk about.
yeah, but I mean, and I'm just talking right now. I'm just giving my opinion, but I'm and Willie thinks breaking up America. I'm not talking about like a full breakup, but I'm thinking, where can the blue states and the red states have a kind of an amicable divorce, like like where we're kind of get together, but there's a separation, and they live
Well,
by their laws and we live by our laws, and
well, that would be segregation, but you would have to move people out of your state or
no,
move some people into a different state. I mean, Oklahoma's very, very red. Out of 78 counties, there's only 3 that are Democratic. I'm sure there's other states that are just as red, but it depends on what your needs are, your values, your mores, and economy, what will work for your life. It's something to consider for anyone listening.
yeah, I mean, like I said, the left has made it clear that they don't want to hear anything that the right has to say, and they don't respect us. So why should we? They just said, we don't want to sit down and talk to you and have this kumbaya moment. Okay,
Because one woman says that, but
she's a
that's not true of
she's
everyone.
she's a lot.
And she said it eloquently, in my opinion.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. I didn't think that at all. I mean, and why would I want to live? Why do I want to live amongst a person? And why do I want to have a person have that kind of power over me, or power over anyone that I care and love about? Why
She
do I
was
want?
just saying it wasn't her job to explain to you the tenets of white guilt or racism. I think she could have inserted a lot of different words there.
She
It's
does,
not their job.
she does not have a live and let live philosophy. She's a canceler, and if you don't go along with her, she will cancel you, and the powers that be will let her do that. Why do I want that for myself? Why would I want that for any of, I don't have children, but like I have, nieces and nephews. Why would I want that for my immediate family to live under? I feel that it's a bunch of,
You're letting one voice, or was that just a sampling of many voices that you hear? Maybe you hear those voices every day in California. I most certainly do not hear those voices every day. And
you,
it's a welcome thing to me.
you don't live in, yeah, well, it's a welcome thing to you because you don't live, where you live, maybe they don't say things like that. But where I live, that is a prominent thought process. And it's like, yeah, I do want away from that. It's vile. It's
Oh
disgusting.
my God. I just remember I passed the sign. It's a storage place, and they have, obedience is something, talking about the mass. How's that working on the other side? Liberty lost forever. It's just, and they're talking about Trump. I know them. They're Trumpers. I don't know. We got to allow people to be who they are, as long as it does not encroach on your rights. And I think encroachment could be a very good topic.
Well,
Concluded.
you can't even defend yourself. Like, I mean, again, if you go to defend yourself in this state, if you're on the right, you'll get punished. In a leftist state, there's one there's one incident in New York where the Proud Boys met up with with Antifa, and they didn't even have victims to testify, or cooperative victims, and they still were prosecuted without victims. And basically, these social what do you call it? These
SJWs?
these crowdfunding sites pay
Oh,
for
yes.
pay for the rioters to get out of jail. But
Oh, my gosh.
if a
There's a
person,
lot of money.
hold on, yeah, if a person goes to defend himself against a rioter, he's out of those crowdfunding. So it makes for a very unequal society.
Now, remember, I had been attacked at a protest with Antifa tactics, you know, saying that I was being a Klan member, which I'm not. So, I mean, I understand how people feel when they've had people put their hands, their physical hands on their person. That was shocking to me. But I still believe in my core values. Concluded.
Yeah, I kind of want to say that I don't.
Well, I want to point out to you that we're at an hour. I don't know how long you want your podcast to go. But I wanted to let you know.
And Joe is saying that this is 1 hour he will not be able to see back in his life.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, boo-hoo, Joey. But, you know, I got to take it to Joe. He has humored me. And like I said, for me, it's gotten worse. And how best to handle it, I'm only giving my own personal experience here. Basically, for me, the best way to handle the situation is not to engage with them, is to engage with other people who are tired of the cancel culture and tired of the left, and to get them to use your money wisely and don't spend with people who despise and hate you. That's not intelligent.
Well, in the state of Arkansas, there has been one Bigfoot sighting and a few UFOs recently. I don't know if that was the meteorites or, you know, they had a meteorite shower last night. Just thought I would put lightheartedness in here.
That was Stabby flying through the air.
Yeah. Yeah. When I booted him in the ass, he flew right through the fucking. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I do need to respond to Willie. He talked about a protester twerk you into the street or something. I was encircled with, I was at a protest, and these Antifa tactics, one of their tactics is to take umbrellas and surround you so you can't take pictures or video. And within the circle, this woman starts twerking on me, and she looked dirty. She looked really dirty. And I really didn't want her butt on my person, so I pushed her off of me. And he's mentioning twerk you into the street. They pushed me into the street in front of an oncoming truck. I've experienced this type of mob mentality, you know, in the physical. I've experienced it, yet I will still support my value system. Concluded.
I was just going to ask, because Joe and I would love to play that. Do you have video of that, of you being twerked on?
I would play the video or possibly even reenact it.
Yes.
Well, it's at an attorney's office because we're trying to keep some of them in check. They know we have it. And they've done some video, but they've cut it up. Mine's the original. And it's just smart and wise not to put the evidence out there so they can have a defense prepared already. Does that make sense?
You know what? I want to say this. I think that if you did have that video of the twerking into the street, I think that Willie would be on to give his commentary on that twerking. I could be wrong on that, but I think Willie would offer.
What?
Yes.
That was a rather large derriere. I will say that. It was a white woman. Very proud of her twerking. She obviously had practiced many, many hours to be able to do it that way. And
was she obese?
She smelled just sweat, nasty, and she had really short hair. It didn't look good on her.
Now, was she obese or was she kind of just kind of thick?
Big derriere.
She was bottom heavy, like small on top, big on bottom.
Was she an oblate spheroid?
Was she what?
Now,
well, she had more of a belly. She had a big, big butt. You know, I could say some all-color remarks, but I'm not going to.
Okay, but what exactly was she wearing? Like what was her shirt like? Was she dressed?
Well, it was a hot, steamy day in August. And she had the brilliant idea to wear these very tight fitting tights You could see she did not have underwear on. They were too small for her. Then she had this little top on. Just, ugh. It was just straight up nasty. It was Walmart material.
Yes, you know what? I think Willie. I think our audience would really. I mean, if this. I mean, like when this court case is over, we would like to do just a review of that. If you can get that video at some point.
Well, let me explain. We are holding that video to keep them away and not to it's one way to have self-defense. I guess is a good way to explain it. Also at that same protest, the people they were protesting against had a compound, a lot of gravel at that part behind the little town of 100 people. And they put turkey manure on that road. So if they tried to march up to their area, they would literally have to walk through manure. I've never been to a place that was so tense. The FBI was inside. I start to stutter. The FBI was inside the fire department. They had 300 guns, people with guns that were in this small little town. There was even more down that gravel. They had no idea what was waiting for them down there if they chose to march down there. It's a very good thing they didn't, because these people would have protected themselves in self-defense. Concluded.
Reminds me of a very important landmark lawsuit that happened. I don't even remember the year, probably the 1800s. Haslam versus Lockwood, and it's a property case where a man who owned horses was walking down the street. His horses took dumps all over the street. They kept walking. Another man comes along, takes the fertilizer, the poop to use for fertilizer in his farm. Now the man came back, the man whose horses had pooped, and discovered that the poop wasn't there. And he went and found the guy who took it, sued him, and won. That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, landmark case.
Yeah. I mean, this Antifa twerking would be really something that would, could put a whole light on what's going on with street level violence. And I think Joe would agree. I think Willie would be interested. I mean, I think this has gotten Willie's concern right now. He's just become interested.
If we could get any video of that twerking incident,
the FBI has a copy, and they also have their own video because they had cameras set up, and these people had no clue. They had no clue.
Act on this one.
Well, that's a thought. I never thought about that. I don't know what channel you would go through to get it from them. That's a good idea. Because then I could keep my own evidence.
Yeah. Your likeness, you can get it back. That must have been fun. Now, if you both were cars driving in the street and this car in front of you started twerking, do you think you could have taken it out?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I know it had me really shook up. I mean, completely shook up.
You punch her in the butt? Did you say, get away from me?
How dare you?
I pushed her off of me because she really was on my person. I don't know how to describe it. Like she had her butt like right on my groin area. And I didn't want her on me. So I pushed her off of me. And I said, get off of me. And she turned around and just smiled like I had just given her some big present because I pushed her off of me. But in every video, it shows that she's physically on me.
Did you try to do a reach around on her just to get her attention?
No, I had my camera and they were trying to grab my camera to throw it on the ground. It was violent. They had their hands on my wrists. it, it shook me. I'd never been treated that way in a protest ever. Um, and these people really didn't know what they were doing at all to protest. They had no idea, nothing. Even to get a permit to protest there,
Maybe
they
we
didn't even know how to do that, and just idiots. And just
maybe we could do a show twerking as a weapon.
well, you could talk about Antifa tactics because they used a lot of them, a
Armed
lot,
and loaded.
and a lot of them were high.
Oh yeah, on Adderall probably.
No, I think it was definitely something hot, tougher than weed because they were really piped up. I don't know how to explain it. And again, I've never seen a protest like that. Maybe the only one that makes me think of it is the ones in Seattle that are very violent. And going to these protests, it's something you need to take precautions, whatever side you're on. Be careful. Know that if you stay on public ground, that you can document. But the moment you step into the street, the police can arrest you. There's a lot of punishments that can be dealt out. Just saying.
And you could tell she was wearing no underwear. So she must have been.
The pants were very, very tight. Not that you would know this. If someone wears tights that are maybe 3 sizes too small, they stretch. And usually you'll see the underwear underneath them. And there was no underwear. And she smelled like there was no toilet out there.
Oh, God.
I think she had gone to, I mean, I hate to be so graphic, but that she had tried to go behind the fire station because they wouldn't allow them to use the bathroom behind the fire station to take a dump because it smelled like that. It was just nasty. When I said it was gross Walmart material, that's exactly what I meant.
So this woman is probably like maybe she just wanted to twerk her unwiped.
Over 200, easily over 200, and maybe 5'6", 5'5".
She's wide.
Now, do you think you could have taken her like could you have beaten her in a fight?
I don't know. I don't think like that.
Was the smell?
I mean, I could have had someone with there were people sticking that got to me inside the umbrella things, and I think they were Klan members. They were trying to protect me, the activist. I mean, oh my gosh, just there's so many different realms of that protest and how not normal it was. The protesters threatened to burn down this very small rural town of a less than 100 people. And they came with a flamethrower. That's why the FBI was there, because they had credible threats of violence against the residents. That is why the FBI were there. Concluded.
Wow,
Yeah,
sounds like a Frankenstein movie.
There are some real fanatics out there who are absolutely crazy, and these are the fanatics in the street, and then you have the fanatics in the boardroom who are making decisions for companies, and they're also unhinged lunatics, and this is what we're dealing with right now, not only in America but throughout the West. These kind of unhinged lunatics are having a lot of control, and they, I guess, the only thing that can be done is boycott as much as you can and spend your money wisely. Anything else to add? Because I'm going to go to bed.
Well, if you're at a protest and let's say they identify you as some type of bad person, if they do the Karen mantra, just do not react. Put your sunglasses on. I had a mask on, so they couldn't see any reaction that I had in my facial expressions. It's very important not to react, because if they think they're getting to you, they'll do it even more. It was a difficult experience to live through, and I will never forget those emotions I had. But be smart. know your rights if you go to a protest, whether side you're on. Stay on public property. Obey the police because they will not play if it's a. Well, I don't know if some of them I consider a protest. Some of them I consider. Uh, I'm trying to think. Riot. I think that's a very good word for a lot of these places last summer, and we may see that again. There's uprisings against Biden now because he doesn't want anybody in the White House that has used weed. I mean, he's very anti-drug. And I knew these Democrats didn't realize how bad he was, but I knew. But one vote's not going to change everything. And I can't believe I just said that. Concluded. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, before you leave, I want to ask you a question. How do you feel about these leftists and how much control they have? I mean, as I said before, these leftists twerked on you and did this and that. How do you feel about, like I said, some of these people are in control of boardrooms, and you see how fanatical they are, and basically they have the sympathy of the establishment. How do you feel about that?
Well, I can see it from both sides. I was one of the organizers of a women's march in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think that was 2018. Maybe it was 17. Well, anyway, I was documenting pictures and posting them. One lady that is privately progressive, but she works for a conservative company, got reprimanded because she was in one of my pictures. And I happened to know her, and so Facebook automatically tagged her. And that upset me, that because someone would voice their opinion in a well-organized protest would get reprimanded. It goes both ways, not just against, I don't know how to say it. It's just one big mess sometimes.
All right.
All right, so we'll call this show a day. I don't know if anybody gained anything out of this. Basically, I'm still dealing, and I'm not being very stoic. I'm still kind of, I'm still processing, because it does feel, to a degree, it does trigger things of abusive parenting. In my past, and the kind of control that these individuals have and the kind of manipulation, it does kind of trigger me. And I know the best way to handle it, but sometimes I don't necessarily do that. Anyway, Joe, is there anything to add before we call the show a day?
No, I do urge Bathtub Girl to read the chat board. There's some great questions we're not going to get to tonight, but
Really?
you might want to answer those for some of our peoples. Thank you for joining us, Angela. It's been great. You did a great job tonight.
Oh, well, thanks. And I think having a conversation like we've had tonight does make an impact. And we're diametrically opposed in different areas. And I don't see anything wrong with that as long as we can have a conversation. Concluded my final thought.
I agree with you on that. But, right now the left doesn't want to talk to the right, and they have all the control. So that's kind of sad. I mean, and that anyone that doesn't go along, who's a free thinker, leftists don't want to talk to, and they're the ones that are doing the canceling. That's my problem. Concluded. So I guess we'll call this show an end, Joey, unless you have something to end. Hey, like and subscribe and leave a comment down below.